Let's see here. Trying to get our Instagram stream going as well as we welcome everyone in to the show tonight. And I think we are live now. All right. So, welcome everyone. This is the Racing Lanes Podcast. I'm your host, Rico Muhammad. I will be joined shortly by my co-host, Mr. Chuck Snow. Tonight we have a very interesting guest. We've had a lot of people ask tons and tons of questions about the tanker industry. So we have someone that's going to join us tonight that's going to kind of help us talk a little bit about the tanker industry from all aspects and go in a couple of different directions. So if you have questions, by all means, put it down in the chat. We're going to turn the chat feature on, and we should be able to see you guys' messages. So if you're watching us on Facebook, type it in the chat. If you're watching us as we stream on Instagram, you should be able to type it in the comments. Hopefully it should transfer over. And also, if you're watching us on YouTube, all you have to do is type it in the chats, and I know for sure that we'll get those comments over here. So with that being said, also, ladies and gentlemen, if you would like, share, and subscribe to the show. If you find anything that we talk about tonight helpful or useful to not only yourself but anyone else that you may know in the industry, by all means, share the show with them. And with that being said, and without much further ado, let me welcome my co-host, Mr. Chuck Snow. Good evening, Chuck. How are you?
We're doing great, Rico. You know what? It sounds like our technology is a lot better for me this week than it was last week when Dean Croak was on.
Absolutely. Well, I think this is a hot show because we've had a few people that have had questions about the tanker industry, and it's kind of if you're not familiar with it, or if you haven't been in that part of the industry, I don't think a lot of people really know what's going on that portion.
Yeah, it's kind of a hidden mystery, and our guest tonight, can we bring him on? I want to introduce him. I'm really thrilled to have him.
Absolutely. Without any further ado, let's bring him on.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me present Josh Mecca. Josh he heads up the recruitment team over at Grammar Logistics, and they are a tanker operation. And now I know they're based in Kansas City area. I don't know if that's head office or not, but Josh runs the recruitment team and knows a hell of a lot about recruitment, retention, and tankers too. So, Josh, welcome to the show.
Well, hey, Chuck, thanks for having me. Rico, thank you as well.
Hey, we appreciate you taking time out to join us, Josh. Looking forward to the conversation.
Well, Josh and I spent a weekend in Kansas City at a teachers conference on behalf of Next Gen Trucking, and in order to bring younger people into the industry through their guidance counselors. And Josh and I hit it off and asked him if he'd mind joining us on the show sometime so we could pick his brain on a few things. Since Josh does run the recruitment team over at Grammar Logistics, I thought we'd pick his brain a little bit about recruitment, about retention, maybe the other side of the coin as well, how some of our listeners who are having some tough times and maybe they are looking for a job as a driver or an owner operator, best way to go about it, best way to look good when you're making that first impression. Josh, anything I missed here?
No, I think you hit it spot on, except for the whole expert part. I gotta do this. I put my brain. It's not going to take too long, but we'll give it a shot.
Josh, what over at Grammar? Now, you guys are strictly tanks, correct?
Correct.
What now? I know the big thing in the industry right now is recruitment, and you and I spent a lot of time that weekend in between getting bombarded by guidance counselors and teachers talking. Over at Grammar, everybody's got they've got a number they're trying to avoid, and I know some of the big guys got back up to well over 100% turnover. What's yours over at Grammar?
Oh, I'd say our turnover is probably in that 30% range.
Wow, that's really Uh, Now, is that because when you're hiring people for a tank operation, you just can't hire anybody? You're not doing any, I presume, you're not taking anybody that's never driven a truck before.
That's correct. With what we do at Grammar, and just kind of a few things on us real quick, just to kind of set the table. Grammar is a 50-year-old bulk hazmat chemical tanker company. We're actually based in Columbus, Indiana. We have a dual corporate headquarters going on in the Woodlands, Texas, with 13 terminals kind of going across the southeast, up that eastern seaboard, and then kind of back across the Midwest. So we really stretch out across the East Coast. But what I'll tell you on the tanker side is you nailed it earlier with we can't take anybody. We can't take everybody. You've got to be a lot more keen on your details. You've got to be the ultimate professional driver to get into tankers. And I know we'll touch on kind of getting into tankers here in just a little bit, but you're right. It's all about the details when it comes to who we bring on board here at Grammar.
Yeah. Now, when you're hiring, do you hire owner operators over at Grammar?
We do. We're actually about 65% owner operator fleet.
Wow.
That's something we're going to be adding to that number here this fall as well.
And my understanding is now, of course, every industry has fallen a little bit, I think. Tankers probably no different. Your numbers are down a little bit, nowhere near what the dry van or reefer or flatbed haulers are, correct?
That's correct. I've got a lot of buddies still in the dry van and reefer world. And every time I talk to them, I'm counting my lucky stars that I found my way to Grammar about a year and a half ago. It's an entirely different everything coming out of the dry van.
Now, other than your hazmat, are you hauling food grade things over there?
Oh, we do not. We only deal with hazmats, hazmat tankers, obviously. But we do a lot in the NGL space, which is natural gas liquids. We do a lot in ammonias, both industrial, cultural. So we got some of the seasonality that comes along with the agricultural season here in the U.S., as well as a very rapidly growing and expanding chemical division, where we deal with commodities ranging from acids to just really anything that's of the hazmat variety, as long as it's
And okay, so all the non-hazmat stuff pretty much you leave for your competition.
correct.
And you guys just okay. So that makes you a real niche market player.
It does, and I would tell you that really puts a lot more emphasis on who we offer to join into the Grammar team here on the driver's side.
Now, will you take a driver or owner operator that has a good record but has no tank experience?
So as of right now, we cannot do that due to the nature of what we haul. With us being hazardous and that tanker, there's a lot of different variables that go into joining Grammar. But first of all, getting that experience. And I know in trucking, we always say, even going back to my past life where I did a lot of CDL school recruiting, and the conversation I have with students that weren't in my backyard for me to bring on board is, well, how do I get experience if you can't hire me? I don't have experience, but nobody hires me. How do I get that?
Right.
And what I would tell my drive-in students is you've got to find an opening that fits you. Your first job in trucking is really all about getting that experience. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be glamorous. It's not going to be, what you want your retirement job to be. There's that doesn't really happen.
Right.
But your first job, you've got to learn. You've got to get that experience. You've got to get that time behind the wheel. Just because on our highways, everybody that I pass, if I can tell they're not following speed limit, they're weaving, they're doing all this type of stuff. They're on their phones, right? You get such a distracted driving audience that we're out there on these roads with, that we have to be defensive. Chuck, I think it was you and I that had this conversation about when it comes to these videos that I see posted online with drivers that wait till the last minute to let somebody merge, or cut someone off, or just do these things to other drivers. My question is it better to be right, or is it better to get home safely to your family?
Yeah.
There's those times on the roads where we could be right all day long, but that's going to put us in a ditch upside down. But there's those other side where we need to get home to our families. How do we learn? And that first job is about learning the rules of the road, learning how our DOT hours of service work, learning how to manage our time, how to read a road out, how to navigate our highway system. So as you progress, the most important thing out there is that first job. I don't care what segment you're in. That first job in trucking, it's all about keeping your credentials and keeping yourself clean. And by clean, I mean don't speed, don't tailgate, don't do things that give trucking companies a bad image. Because all that does is that makes phone calls back into our companies. We have to research that. We got to figure out what caused this pattern of behavior. And the reason why I'm going down that path is because that pattern of behavior, if you're a tailgater, or if you're a speeder, or if you wait till the last minute to brake, if you take that behavior and that's your learned behaviors, that's your learned driving styles because you trust your brakes, when you transfer over into the liquid segment or the tanker segment, when you go to stop, you have this thing called slop.
Yes.
and I'll tell you, I was on the road with one of my drivers down in Tampa, and he goes, "Feel this. Have you ever felt slosh before?" And I said, "Nope." He goes, "Here it is." And he went to stop, and when he did, that tank and that truck pushed forward, and it's straight physics. You can't stop it. You can put baffling in the tanks; it'll slow it down a little bit. But when you have that much liquid, physics is going to push forward. So you have to learn to give yourself more cushion, to give yourself more distance, to give yourself more time to react to that person that's paying attention to their phone instead of the road in front of them. And so it all comes back to behavior, right? It all goes back to how I want to be treated. And when you make that transition from dry van or from reefer or flatbed into that tanker, it's such a different commodity. It's such a different feel inside that truck. That you have to be the best of the best, and you have to be on your details all day, every single mile you're going down the road, every single moment you're hooking your hoses up. It's all about those details. And getting back to entry level, if you learn those details and you take care of those details, trucking is going to take care of you. It just seems to work out that way.
Yeah.
So how much experience does one need to have if they're interested in hooking up with you guys over at Grammar?
So for Grammar, I do have to have a couple of years of driving experience. I got to have a couple of years of tanker experience. Again, kind of getting back to that hazmat nature of what we contend with. When you're starting to break in, typically what I would suggest is I know there's several companies out there that have a non-hazardous tanker division. Start there. Find a company that's got a dry van and a non-hazardous or a food grade tanker. Get some experience doing that. Get your credentials. Get your hazmat. Get that tanker. Get that X endorsement. I mean, that X endorsement is your hazmat and tanker combined. But get those credentials because that way, Chuck, when you and I were together, I love the story that you would say about, hey, go to school, get your CDL. And then, a couple months later, someone's going to have a truck that needs moved. You're working that dock. And now that manager's going to say, hey, can you move that truck for me? And when you move that truck, guess what? You do that truck well, you're going to get more opportunity. You're going to get more opportunities after that. And so as you do that, as you learn those opportunities and as you prove yourself capable of handling those details, you get more opportunities. I mean, it just grows. The same thing in that tanker section. Get into that company, prove yourself to be a good driver. Once you hear you've got those non-hazardous, that food grade tanker experience opening up, talk to your manager, talk to your recruiting department, see if you can move over into that segment. That way you're starting to cut your teeth on something that isn't as environmentally or potentially health related hazardous. As something that's So take advantage of those opportunities. Gino, to answer your question on the age restriction on trucks, typically what I tell people is, we're going to, at least at Grammar, we run e-logs. We do things the safe, legal way all day, every day. We don't doubt that. If you got something that you have a specific question on, feel free to give us a call. I'd love to talk to you. I know we've got some older trucks in our fleet that are absolutely gorgeous. I love those older trucks. They're just amazing to see. It's like your collection. But those things are just so pretty to watch rolling down the road. But again, we do run e-logs. So I'd say your truck's got to make sure that it can run that. And the other thing too is don't delete your death. That is a big EPA issue. So if you deleted your death, I need you to figure out a way to get that back. That's something too that when you start getting in a tanker, we're much more environmentally conscious of what we're doing going up and down the road. Just again, due to the nature of what we haul, we have to be more intentional.
Yeah, you've got to be. And I was just, it's funny. I was just thinking about you on the way over here. And my screen, by the way, guys, I don't know about you, my screen just went dark and now it's gone white. Are you having the same issue?
No, you're frozen on our end. It kind of looks like I'm doing my ventriloquist act with you, but
you know what I'm going to do? In all fairness, I'm going to log out or try to log out and log back in again and see if I have. Let's see what happens if I can even do that.
Yeah, you might be able to hit your refresh button and hopefully maybe it'll.
All I have is a white screen here. Hang on. Nope. Okay, I'm going to log back in.
You might have to. Yeah. More technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen. We apologize about that. So while Chuck's trying to figure out his portion over there, Josh, what are some things that I know we talked about with tankers and everything, and okay, Gino, I think we're gonna follow. He's gonna follow up with you on if you wanted to give him a call about trucks. He says he runs e-logs, but I'm not sure if but I think he said he got older trucks in the fleet, right?
Yeah, I mean, Gino, if that's an 07 and run e-logs, man, give me a call.
So if someone was interested in it, and not to really give you guys a bunch of competition or nothing like that, but if someone was interested from an owner-operator standpoint, what would you suggest? Is tanker an industry that an independent could break into, or do you think that they need to be leased on with a company?
So I would say from a tanker experience, there are a couple of good. So I had a little tickle going on there. There are several good brokers that do broker out tanker freight. Again, it's one of those things that if you have a good partner and you have a good brokerage company that you work with, partner up with them. What I've learned on the tanker side in my 18 months is and I really hope this doesn't sound weird when I say it, but this is a much more much more relational, much more relationship driven side of trucking than what I've experienced in my past. I've worked at a couple of different trucking companies. I've worked at a fleet management company where I work with companies all across the country, all different shapes, sizes, modes. And I'd say on the tanker side, when we get new customers, because we've been working on it for a long time, we work on it for years. We've worked on it because we've known somebody that moves something. We're finally getting a chance in a new market, or, something like that. But I'd also say that a lot of it has to do with the fact that our name and our brand awareness and our reputation being a best-in-class full-service tanker company also helps us to get in. So kind of getting back to your question on, if an independent can break into it, Grammar and our owner-operators, we've got a lot of drivers that run under our authority, but we've also got a couple small fleets that run with us as well. So we've got fleets in our portfolio. I've seen several just gorgeous trucks out there that are independents that are doing their own thing and that's what they run. They run the same thing back and forth, and that's fantastic. But again, you got to do some homework. You got to find someone that can keep it moving. Hey, Chuck's back.
Well, you know what?
Looked like he went to the phone.
My computer just kind of like went dark on me. I don't know what the heck's going on. So I'll have to deal with that one in the morning. Thank God for iPhones.
All right, yeah, you look, you're coming in much clearer and better now.
Okay.
So kind of getting back, it's all about relationship, and you've got to find someone that you can know and trust. We've got a segment that does that as well, and I'd say they've been fantastic to work with as well.
And so, and you were saying earlier, you guys haven't really experienced, because like right now I can speak from the reefer portion and the drive-in portion a little bit. It's been right now the freight is kind of it's the volume is down a good little bit. It's not as much freight that's out there, but you guys are kind of a little bit more insulated from that within the tanker industry.
I'd say there's a little bit of that. Again, there's never enough freight. Everybody always wants more. We can always do more. We can always push for that next load, right? If you're a trucking company and think that you're busy enough, you can always take more. But kind of getting back to the tanker side specifically, there's a lot of seasonality to tanker, especially depending on what segment you're in. One of the things that we've done here at Grammar is we've really focused on growing some additional commodities, so that way when we do have the seasonality, we can move our fleet around a little bit and keep our drivers in a paycheck,
right?
Which is kind of critical. We work hard to keep our drivers moving, and if our drivers keep moving, then we keep our customers happy. And it's kind of that cycle of growth, right? So with that and insulation, I'd say we've stayed steady, but I do see us here picking up again here pretty quick. But love to see a stronger freight cycle, that's for sure.
I think everybody would, but I would imagine out of all the providers, your particular segment is probably, although nothing is perfect right now in this mess of an economy, but I would think your segment is probably the most insulated, because people need gas, oil, we need raw materials to make things, to produce things. Although the production is down all over the continent, I still think that your particular segment, especially hazardous, is probably the least affected. Am I correct?
Yeah, I mean it is. People are going to drive cars. We're going to use gasoline. We're going to use propane. We're going to heat our houses. We got to cook our food. So when you start dealing with some of those commodities, we're going to run power plants. We're going to have to clean them. We're going to have to do those things. We're going to have to treat our water with stuff. We're going to have to do so many things that the tankers have. You can't exactly put the commodity in a drive-in. And you're not exactly going to flip carriers over, a percent here or there. Because again, it's relationship. It's knowing your commodity is going to get safely handled from pickup to origin. It's not like you can back up to a dock and load from the warehouse in our industry. So much from the production line to the truck to the manufacturing facility to in-line distribution. So it's so much of a just-in-time type of detail oriented that it does move a little bit, but I've stayed. What I've seen is definitely stayed more steady than some of my friends in the drive-in reefer tanker, or not tanker, drive-in reefer and flatbed side have.
So tell me something on the hazmat sector. In the hazmat sector, I know that with other commodities, if somebody unloads a food grade commodity in the middle of Iowa, my understanding, unless something has changed, they used to have to drive all the way back east to Chicago to get a washout to go and pick up a load 10 miles away in the middle of Nosebleed, Iowa. Is that still the case? Do you have to go through those sorts of things with hauling hazardous?
Yeah, I mean you've got to make sure that you're keeping your tank clean for your next product, right? Especially in the hazardous world, because when you're dealing with chemicals, there's so many different chemical reactions out there that you've got to really pay attention from what you took off to what you washed off to where you did that at. Do you do a cold wash? Do you do a hot wash? All of those things. It's all chemistry, right? And if you accidentally mix two things together that shouldn't go together, I mean, you're going to end up on Facebook, and that's the last thing anybody wants.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, but even worse. I mean, you go back to this East Palestine train derailment a couple of years ago.
Yep.
You know, when you look at how it was handled, there were some choices that were made that were great. There were some choices that were made that weren't so great. And it all comes down to chemistry. Should we have burned off everything? Looking back on it, probably not. But it's chemistry, and we at Grammar, we're real big on training and taking care of the details. And I'll tell you, we've got a best in class training department too. We're doing some things to really make sure that our drivers are getting the training they need, and really representing the chemical tanker NGL sector as best as we can in our space. But we do training on the emergency response guides on how to use that should something happen. Should we have a leak? Should we encounter something that we're not supposed to? How do we deal with that? How do we help our fellow trucks on the road? If we see that ASVAB logo, how do we respond to that? My career, I've been in trucking going on just about 18 years now. Yeah, I've seen the book. I've seen it floating around, but it wasn't really until I got to Grammar that I got into the details of that book, making sure that we know how to respond, when to respond. But yeah, kind of Justice, getting to your point, washouts can be really, really expensive, and they're again, depending on where you're at, they're not everywhere. They've got a lot of EPA regulations that they have to follow too.
Oh, yeah.
On making sure that you're not washing something off in the wash bay that's going to react to something else that's out of the back of it. You can Google reactions at wash bays. There's all types of stuff, just for people not paying attention. But again, it gets back to those details. You got to pay so much attention to those details to make sure that you don't create something like that.
So tell me something. Are there, because there's been so much pressure on environmental impact of things, are there less washout facilities now than there were, 15, 20 years ago, or are there more?
I can't answer that with a concrete answer, but from what I've seen, following some of the Facebook pages, it definitely feels like the quality washout spots are having trouble staying staffed, I guess is the word I want to use, because labor is still an issue, right? Trying to find people that'll work and that'll do that type of a job. It's not easy work either. Those guys.
No, I wouldn't imagine.
Got tanks, man. My hat's off to you all. We drive. You guys, the work that you do to keep us safe. We really, really appreciate what you do for us and keeping clean. Making sure that we're not, carrying those residuals going down the road. But, it feels like every time I see something happen at one, there's a new one opening up, or there's another one closing. It's just, I don't know if it's the sign of the times or what, but, again, it comes back to those relationships. Make sure you give your business to people that are going to support you, and then hopefully we're there together in the long run.
Are there in that part in the washout industry? Are there some major players that have this thing locked up, or is it all little guys all over the place?
Honestly, Chuck, I'm not entirely sure. I know there's a couple of big ones, and I know some markets we've got special places that we'll go to. But again, it's mostly market driven and where you're at and where you're working. You go to a place like your Iowa example. You're probably not going to find many tanker washouts in the middle of Iowa, but you come down to a market like Houston or Corpus Christi, or a place known for its really industrial segment. You're going to find it more.
Right. So that leads me to my next question, and I'm not going to ask for you to throw a number on air, but how do you reimburse owner-operators? Are your owner-operators paid on percentage, or are they all paid on mileage?
So my owner-operators are all paid on a percentage.
I'm sorry, on what?
On percentage.
Okay.
Yes.
So
So
they're
yeah, go ahead.
okay. So they're covering all their own. If they have to run from the middle of Iowa back to Chicago for a washout, that's on them, correct?
That would be correct.
Okay. But they're getting a percentage
We're
of
getting the percentage of the revenue that goes into that. And what I've found in the tankers, a lot of times, those extra miles that are built in like that, they're built into the rates, and that would be something. If you're getting paid a percentage, you're getting pushed on it, you're getting pushed on that type of number.
And let me ask you another question. Your average owner operator over at Grammer, how many miles a year are they running on average?
Again, that answer is very heavily dependent upon market. I've got some markets where my owner operators will pick up and deliver a load within 12 miles of each other, and they'll do 3 or 4 of those a day.
Okay, yeah.
I've got some markets where they'll go over the road. So there's some where they'll go out for a day, come back home the next day. I've got some where they'll go out for 2 weeks at a time. So it's really tough for me to give you a straight, just across the board number, because if I did that, it would be really, really skewed based on how our model is set up.
Yeah, I can see that because I would imagine a lot of your work is contractual, correct?
Correct.
So you have an owner operator that's tied to a particular contract?
No, so we take our contracts with our customers, and our owner operators are contracted with us. And within the contract, we have all the language, and that's out.
Right, but you take that owner operator and you put them on the one contract, correct? Is that how you try to just?
We put them in a terminal. So when they get to one of our terminals, so if the driver for us is in let me say Houston, for example. We got our one of our headquarters down here. I got a terminal in Fort. If they come down to LaPorte, there's one of they can haul for 10, 15, 20 different companies down here. Those are all contracts with us, right? To that driver, they'll still get all the dispatching. So I'm not going to say, Chuck, I'm contracting with Nestle chocolate milk. You can only haul Nestle chocolate milk.
Right.
As good as that would sound, I'm going to say, Chuck, I'm going to contract you. You may haul chocolate milk today. You may haul strawberry milk tomorrow. You may do white milk the next day. Well, you're going to do chocolate milk. You're going to do in this market. You're going to always go from this area to that area. You're going to come back. This will be what your day looks like. But as far as what's in that tank, that can vary depending upon the day, the need, the market. What the customers give over, what they don't, what plants up, what plants down. So that can vary. But what's important to you, though, is that, Chuck, when you say the work, you're going to have freight.
Right.
That freight's going to pay you, but you're going to be able to buy for your family. And that's really what we try to do is, the more diverse we can keep our portfolio, the less we find, like we found a couple of years ago on the dry van side, when Ford and Chevy went on strike and those guys were down for 2, 3, 4 months at a time. Next thing you know, companies are going out of business, and those guys.
Oh my God, yeah.
Because they're so stuck on one customer. At least with the way that we're set up, we're diversified enough to where if something does go down, we typically can keep you going in something else.
Yeah, that's the problem with being stuck with one thing, one commodity, and even with hazardous, I would imagine there's such a wide array of different commodities that come under the hazardous banner.
Yeah, and Justice too. You make a really good point on that. I've seen your comment on quality. I know this last one on fuel economy. When you're looking at that type of stuff, quality is everywhere. They've got a lot of good service. I know we use them. I think National Care Service, we can watch out there. There's a handful of others that we use, but when you look at the tanker thing, a little personal story about me. My very first ride along happened, probably 12 years ago now. I was at a company, and we were going from St. Louis to Chicago in a dry van to drop off at a grocery distribution center. We went across Chicago. We picked up our company's first tanker, and we hauled it back down to St. Louis.
Right.
And that was my first exposure to riding in a truck. And
Really?
it was. And that day changed my entire career trajectory. Peter, I don't know if you're out there, you're still listening to this or you'll find this, but that ride along with you changed what I felt like my purpose of trucking was. Going up and seeing everything that he dealt with on the road. Peter is the ultimate professional. But just riding in that truck and feeling the difference in pulling that van to going across Chicago bobtail to coming back in a tank. The other piece that made this day extra difficult was the fact that it was about 20 degrees and it was the winter time and it was snowing, sleeting, and icing. So we were also racing the weather. So we had the wind, we had everything going on, and feeling that the difference in the truck from the loaded drive-in to the empty tank coming back. The truck drove a lot better. It was a lot smoother. It was kind of scary because you look in the mirrors and you don't see the trailer as much. But you learn to trust it. But it just felt so much different. So it's one of those things too. Kind of to your point is that you get into it, you learn to drive it. You're going to have empty miles, but if you still manage your fuel, you still manage your time, you manage your clock, you can do quite well, earning just by controlling your expenses as a tank truck driver.
Yeah, I could see that. And, I think the biggest thing to manage would be time. Fuel's pretty, you can do what you can, but fuel, you guys are hauling heavy almost, well, whenever you're hauling heavy. Whenever there's anything in that tank wagon, it's maxed out weight wise.
Right. Yeah. We'll load to max with most commodities, because that's kind of what I've learned about our segment is that we work on gallons. The more gallons we can get on a trailer, the more customers can build their customers, and that's kind of the cycle, right? Whereas in the drive-in world, it's more all about that weight per mile, what that commodity is. But really, tankers, it's about pulling that weight that you need to pull. And it's heavy when you're moving. But again, what I've also discovered in doing my ride-alongs with my drivers here at Cranberry, the driving style is different. You're not jumping on the gas. You're not jumping on the fuel. You're not slamming the brakes. You're driving a much smoother style of driving, which indirectly, but kind of getting back to those behaviors we mentioned at the start of this, it controls those RPMs. And because you're not revving those RPMs, you're not burning more diesel than you need to, because you're not getting there any faster. You're not jumping on your brakes because you can't slow down any faster. You've got to be more controlled, more measured in your driving style, so you're going to control your fuel cost.
Yeah. Now, Josh, can you speak to the loading times when it comes to tankers, loading and unloading times? I know me speaking from coming from the reefer segment, and when you're dealing with produce and things of that nature, when you got a lot of wait times, a lot of times with reefers, there's a ton of wait times. How does that the tanker segment differ from maybe some other segments when it comes to getting loaded and getting unloaded?
I'd say the biggest thing is that we don't use forklifts. If we're using forklifts,
touche. I like that one.
It's a bad day. But no, seriously, so the difference really with us is we are very much pump driven, right? There's different types of pumps. There's different types of ways to load and unload product. You can vacuum it on a truck. You can push it off. Most times you vacuum it on. That's a very specialized type of truck. With our fleet, we use a lot of compressors. Some of our customers I've been to, we hook up to their own air supply. So again, you're still limited by physics because it's only so fast that product can load on or load off. You've got different hose sizes. You've got 2-inch, 3. I mean, there's just so many different sizes of hoses. And with that, obviously your bigger hose, the faster it's going to offload. But I'd say the bigger difference on the tanker side is you've got to stay with your trailer and jump in your truck and take a nap. You've got to pay attention to what's going on, because if something bucks, if something sparks, if something jumps, you got to be there to respond. And I'll tell you, one of those things that it was my first trip here at Grammar, my first time in the field looking at one of our tankers, and I was down in Florida with my guys down there. They started going through all the different safety features on these tankers, and all the different ways that those valves can shut off. But again, it comes back to being a professional, being there ready to jump as soon as you see something happening that's not supposed to happen. You're able to be there and respond quickly before it becomes something more major. Again, I'd say in my experience being on the road with my fleet, it's taken anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours. Obviously, if your pump's slow and getting older, it might take you 3. It just depends on, again, commodities, what you're hauling. Are you pushing it off? Is your customer pushing it off? Just those types of things.
Is there some things that are a lot faster than others? I guess your compressed gases are pretty quick, are they?
Yeah, I would say our compressed, Justice, thickness is a big part. We've got one adhesive spot. That one definitely takes every bit of 3 hours because of what it is. I would say probably our gases go a little bit faster. We've got some liquids that go pretty quick. Again, just depending on where you're taking it and how they're receiving it.
Now,
and Justice, you guys commenting too. I'd love to see your feedback on those statements too. See if there's anything that you had experienced that goes on faster, goes off faster. I'd love to engage with you guys.
yeah, no, I'd love to participate. My understanding, and I'm pretty green with it. Once, many years ago, when I was a kid, I did pull a tank once, and it was a nightmare. But my understanding from talking to people through the years, the best thing to haul in a tank, if you ever get a chance, is propane. Is that true?
I'd say my drivers love propane. They love the gases because in the gases you don't have that slosh because it's air. When it turns into a liquid is when you start to get that slosh. So once you can find yourself, once you get into that, and again, that's something we do quite a bit of. Once you get that NGL space, typically, I'll put it this way: it's a whole lot easier for me to get one of my chemical guys to go to my NGL side as opposed to my NGL side going back to my chemical because of that slosh. But that gas is great. Really that NGLs are red. We love.
Yeah, and I guess with gases, you're coming back empty, correct?
Right.
So it's all pretty easy. So tell me something. Your 30% turnover that you guys go through, where is that? Where's most of that coming from? The guys retiring?
Yeah, I mean, there's retirement. There's some drivers, working through some of our turnover stats here recently. We've had some guys that have come back into the tanker space that decided that throwing hoses wasn't for them. Let's be clear too. It's not an easy job. If it was an easy job, it would be all over the highway. It's not. Details are critical. So again, if you're someone that's not going to pay attention to your details, you probably won't be around for long. You've got to be that ultimate professional. You've got to wear your PPE, your personal protection gear. You've got to stay safe. So you're not driving in flip flops. You're not not doing those types of things. You're wearing your steel toes. You're just being the professional, right? And so we see some medical, we see some retirements, we see some drivers, obviously moving for other opportunities. We see a lot of drivers that want to come back though. That's something that we see quite a bit of here at Grammars, drivers that want to come back. Yeah, sometimes we have opportunities, sometimes we don't. It just depends on the season. It depends on the timing. So much goes into that, but I do feel that we can always get better in that area as well.
Now, are you always looking for drivers?
Yeah,
or operators? Is something
we are, and I'd say the key driver for that for us is that we're really growing our chemical division. It's really been taken off, and it's nice to be part of something that's growing like this. And that's something that I don't see slowing down anytime soon.
So I'm just curious from a business point of view, um, talking to you, would it not be wise to have a like an edible oil hauling division or something that's outside your lane, just so that you can bring on those really expert van drivers and teach them how to pull tanks your way with something that's not hazardous or really flammable?
So I absolutely love that idea. The trick in the tanker world is that those tanks that you see on the highways can cost anywhere from $80,000 to $90,000 a piece.
Right.
Which, again, as you know from your background, that's substantially more expensive than a dry van.
About
And
the same price as a reefer sort of thing in it.
yeah, close, but you get very specialized when you get to some of our commodities.
Right.
And so when you start doing that, then you start dealing with different permitting, you start dealing with different segments. It's hard. It's hard to not want to get too diversified because then you don't do everything very well.
Right.
I really like a lot, with what Henry Ford said. You can get any color of Model T that you want as long as that color's black. And then the same thing's kind of true. Is I would love to get us training, and maybe that's a conversation for a couple of years down the road. But again, what we've got to do as an industry, I'm going to get back to what we talked about here in Kansas City, John. We've got to get back to it as an industry, helping those that want to be in trucking to be in trucking. If we have drivers that want to come in, we as an industry have to step up, all of us, and say, come on in. We want to provide you good training opportunities. We want to give you the time to learn how to drive safely, professionally. I'm not going to send you with a trainer for 3 weeks and then put you on the road and make you a trainer in 6 months. That's not enough experience. We've got to quit as an industry. We've got to quit shooting ourselves in the foot with that stuff. It gets people hurt all day, every day. I see this stuff on Facebook and these different groups that I'm a part of. And, people out there are rushing training. They're taking drivers that have spent time with their money paying through CDL school, putting them in a truck, shortchanging them because of a profit somewhere, and they're burning them out. And we wonder why we have an issue with drivers and this shortage, because we can't keep people that want to be in here. And again, that's where, getting back to that ride along I told you about, where I drove up to the grocery DC and back. That was my first time really seeing everything that our professional drivers dealt with on the road. And I took it to heart. And it's been my mission since that day that I'm going to work for a company that gives a damn. I'm going to work for a company that truly wants to give drivers the best opportunity to succeed as they can. Whether that's through training, whether that's through going from dry van to reefer or reefer to tanker, whatever that looks like. Our men and women out there driving up and down the road, they're our heroes. They kept us going through COVID. They're not
this world stops. As we found out in March of 2020, this world stops very quickly without them.
Right, and we as an industry, all of the companies out there, we have to step up and make sure that our drivers know that we're still fighting like hell to take care of them. And that's one thing that I really, really like about being here at Grammar is, we've got opportunities to be successful. We've got opportunities for drivers to move around. Like I said earlier, something slows down, we've got other commodities. We've got other things that we can move them in. And we're trying new things just to keep our drivers whole and keep them in a paycheck and grow them. But we've got drivers that have gone from 1 truck to 2 trucks to 3 trucks to 5 trucks, all part of our fleet, because that opportunity exists. And that's one thing that I love so much about trucking, is that trucking doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care who you want to love. It doesn't care what you want to look like. It doesn't care. All it cares about is that you're safe and you're professional. And if you say you're going to be on time, that you're on time. Guess what? That next mile is going to be there for you. You're going to get that next mile. You're going to get that next load. You're going to get that next opportunity. When I started in trucking 18 years ago, I chanced into it on a blind ad. I knew nobody in trucking. I've got no relatives in this industry. My entire family background is all in the railroad industry. I was the first generation from my family in trucking. I get into it, and it's just opportunity after opportunity, because I like to think that I have pushed myself and I've tried, I've proven myself to where I'm going to get those opportunities.
Oh
And
yeah.
I'm going to keep growing and I'm going to keep pushing and I'm going to keep fighting like hell to make this the best damn industry it can be. Pardon my
Well,
language, it's what it is.
it's funny, Josh. You talk about your family being in the railway industry. To my knowledge, there's only, I think, 4 or 5 major railways in all United States, but you have hundreds of thousands of trucking companies.
Yeah, so much opportunities here. We have to first of all create it, and we do that. But second of all, we have to keep those people who want to be here in trucking. We need that talent. We need that next generation. We need that next group of people to come in and take what we've done and make it even better for those that come after us. We need that, and we need our drivers. We need our office. We need our safety departments. We need our maintenance guys. We need all of those companies that support our truckers to do that exact same thing. It takes all of us to make this happen.
Yeah, that's it's, I don't know about where it falls in the United States, but up here in Canada, it is the number one industry for the number of people that work in any particular industry. Trucking is number one. Now, obviously, they don't all work as truck drivers. They work as technicians, they work as yard jockeys, they work as loaders, as salespeople, all sorts of things.
Yeah, I mean it's the same down here. I think it was something like 1 in 6 jobs in the United States is somehow connected to transportation.
Yeah.
I mean,
God bless. God bless Ronald Reagan for pulling out, those thousands of miles of railway tracks. He really did a good job for the truck industry.
he definitely did us a favor at deregulation. or depending on your perspective, maybe he didn't, but it's definitely opened up for opportunity.
Well, the nice thing is that the rail now works with certain segments of the trucking industry. I don't think they do a hell of a lot of work with the tanker boys because tankers are a unique animal.
So actually, I'm going to stop you there. There are quite a bit of synergies actually with the railroad.
Oh, is there?
With tanker companies? Yeah, there's a lot of gases that get hauled. That do come across, the rail. They'll get to a final mile because, again, the glory of a truck is we can drive anywhere there's a road. Those trains are stuck in tracks, right? So there is some overlap. I don't have the exact stat in front of me, but I do know that we do play nice together. They need us, we need them, and again, together we do create opportunity.
Now, are you doing much with the ocean container people as far as any like where there's liquids that have to be hauled overseas?
So we at Grammar do not. I think we've. I don't even want to go there because I'm not sure, and I'm not going to give out false information. But I know that we don't do anything with containers.
And what about with the bulk tankers that have oil or chemical that are coming from another nation? I would imagine they're getting offloaded at a pier somewhere.
Yeah, those we do. We will work with those.
Okay. It sounds like you guys are doing a lot of interesting stuff over there.
Yeah, it's fun. It's been a fun ride. 19 months here. Yeah, I've enjoyed every minute of it. I still wake up happy to be part of the Grammar team. Still like pushing, like growing, always like learning, and really have enjoyed learning the fleet over here and kind of what we do, where we're at. But most importantly, just love seeing how professional they are, how much pride they take in their job, how much pride they take driving up and down the road. And really kind of setting that tone for the rest of us out there.
That's got to take a lot of pressure off the team, at the internal team at a company. Is you don't have a bunch of inexperienced people out there that are doing stupid crap, that just silly stuff that they don't know. You're able to hire the ultimate professionals throughout your organization. That's got to make things a hell of a lot easier.
It helps, but again, too, that's where our constant training comes in. That's where our safety meetings. It's where we get new ideas, we push it out. That's where our trainers, we're getting ready to do some work with those guys just to really help them make sure that we're on the same page training. But our drivers really, I think, do a good job of looking out, and that's really where it shows itself.
Are you at Grammar? Are you doing a lot of online updates where they log in and they learn the next, greatest and best way to do something?
We do quarterly training. That's all done online. We're pushing out different videos, really trying to use our technology.
Yeah, that's great. And how many trucks, power units, does Grammar have altogether?
So we're right around 500, a little over 500 trucks. I believe we're about 800 trailers ish on the road. So we tend to keep our trailers with our trucks, but we got some drops that we'll work with every so often. It just depends on our customer needs. Try to take care of them, but pretty good sized fleet, and actively growing.
And one last question: how long do tankers last?
Oh man, so this part kind of blew my mind. When you mentioned the propane earlier, there are some propane bottles on the road that have been out there for 40 something years.
Whoa!
Yeah. So they're basically just big propane bottles, and there are rigid recertification processes. I mean, it's strict. Where every 5 years those trailers come off the road, they get totally rehabbed. We measure everything. If there's any deviation in thickness and welding, any of that stuff that comes off. Chassis are rebuilt, so as long as that bottle stays intact, keep a new chassis underneath, rebuild them. I mean, it's really comes down to how well you want to maintain your equipment.
Wow, we can't get
crazy.
We can't get more than 5 years out of a propane bottle for our barbecue up here in Canada.
Right? Yeah. I tried to refill one of my bottles for my grill a couple weeks ago. The guy's like, this is too old to refill. I'm like, yeah, but my trailers. He didn't get it. But no, but seriously, it comes down though to taking care of your equipment. If something's taken care of, the inspection. I mean, it takes months to rehab the trailer. And you look at them and you're just like, this is incredible. It's something that was built and established. Give a little shout out to Shorty Whittington, and he was an innovator and pioneer in our industry. Really helped us push tankers forward. And just to kind of be in the shadows of guys like that, it's really cool.
Well, one more last question for you, Josh, before we let you get out of here. What is something? I know we threw a lot of questions at you and everything, but what is something that maybe we haven't asked you that we maybe should know about the tanker industry?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'd say the part that I was the most surprised at was just kind of the hours that our drivers keep. And what I mean by that is the ride-alongs I've gone on, have both started at 3 a.m. We'll get back in, legal drive time. Definitely starts earlier in the day. A lot of it, if you're going to the metro, these guys, yeah, and Justice, your comment, exactly, they get rebuilt and certified. Appreciate you commenting on the show too, but kind of the everything that our drivers plan for, they know when you meet them, all right, we're stopping at this spot. We're going to stop here. We're going to refill here. We're going to go over here. I know this guard's name. I hope it's this guard and not that guard, because if it's this guard, then it's this way. If it's that guard, then you're going to stay outside. I'm not kidding. The policies are all the same, but the level of attention to detail on everything blows my mind in this industry, at least in this segment, because these guys, they know, hey, I'm going to this metro. This time is rush hour. I'm going to get in before rush hour. I'm going to unload during rush hour. I'm going to get out after rush hour. It's just those types of things. Everything is measured. Everything is tempoed. And I would say the other thing is on the ride-alongs that I've been with, my drivers are extremely relaxed. When I've been out there with my drive-in guys, they tend to be a little bit more nervous, a little bit more, watching all the cars. But my tanker guys drive a lot more relaxed, meaning that, hey, they've given themselves plenty of space in that car in front of them. And if someone on their cell phone does cut us off, hey, guess what? There's already enough space. We've already measured for people doing that on the interstate. Or, hey, that car is jumping on its brakes up there. Hey, we're good because I've given ourselves enough cushion to where we can slow down smoothly, stopply, and safely to avoid ending up on those. So it's just a different level of attention to detail, that different driving style, the different laid back kind of nature, but they're not. They are so on top of their game that it's just incredible. Hats off to those tanker guys out there, ladies out there.
Well, Josh, we appreciate you. The hour is just blown by.
That was quick.
A little bit over. We appreciate you for taking the time out to come on and discuss all these things with us. If you would, or if you want to, where can people find you if they have more questions, if they want to ask you a question or want to follow up with you about the company that you're with and everything? How can people find you on social media?
Yeah, so we've got our website, grammarlogistics.com. Go there. We've got a lot of good information there. We also have Facebook, Instagram, Grammar Logistics. Find us there, GRAMMER. Grammar. Look for us there. You'll find us on Facebook. Send us a message. I'll be the one that responds. Me or Courtney or one of our other social media team. But I'm definitely watching all those. Love to hear your comments, your feedback. Let me know what I got right. Let me know what I got wrong. I'm always learning. Love to get your feedback on that too. But find us there. Trying to think of that's really it. So yeah, Facebook, Instagram, and grammarlogistics.com.
All right. Well, we appreciate you. Thank you again for taking the time out of your schedule to come on and join us. We are definitely grateful for you doing so.
Thanks,
Chuck Snow.
Yes, sir. Josh, first of all, thank you so much for joining us. And if anybody out there wants to get a hold of me, just send me a quick email, chucksnow280@outlook.com. Be glad to help any of our listeners through anything they're going through. With that, Rico, I'll let you back her in a hole for another week.
Yes, sir. I want to thank you guys, ladies and gentlemen, for taking the time out to join us. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but we're always grateful for you taking the time to join us. And with that being said, and I know it's a little tough out there, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to kind of give a little couple words of encouragement. You know, as they say, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. And if you're going through hell, just keep going.
You got it.
So with that being said, we still going to keep it the same way we always do it. Stay safe out there, everybody. God bless you and good night. Keep it in between the mustard and the mayonnaise, and we'll talk at the same time, same place next week.
Catch on the flip-flop.